Tyler Carson was no ordinary college athlete. He was the golden boy, a quarterback with a future brighter than the lights of Friday night football. Crestwood University had long celebrated his athletic prowess, and his name was known not only within the college, but also by scouts across the nation. On the field, he was untouchable, a leader, a hero. Off the field, he was charming, confident, and seemingly perfect. Everyone loved him. But the reality of Tyler's life was one of suffocating pressure, emotional turmoil, and a deep secret he'd kept hidden from everyone around him. Tyler was nearing the end of his junior year at Crestwood University, and with the NFL draft scouts circling like vultures, the expectations placed on him were overwhelming. It was more than just winning games. He was expected to carry the hopes and dreams of the entire university on his shoulders. The constant pressure to succeed was weighing heavily on Tyler, but it was something he had learned to mask. The carefully crafted image of the golden boy was his armor, his shield from the world. Behind closed doors, however, Tyler's life was unraveling. He had long been struggling with an inner battle that no one could see. The facade of perfection hid a man who felt trapped, suffocated by the weight of others' expectations, and deeply resentful of the very people who adored him. At the center of this pressure was his team, especially Jeremy Dawson, a young freshman who had quickly become the media's new favorite. Jeremy had a natural talent, and it wasn't long before scouts began to whisper about the possibility of him being the next big star. Tyler hated it. Jeremy wasn't just a threat to Tyler's fame. He was a threat to everything Tyler had worked for, everything he had sacrificed. The whispers in the locker room grew louder, with rumors circulating about how Jeremy was surpassing Tyler in talent and leadership. But the real issue wasn't the competition, it was the way everyone seemed to love Jeremy. The freshman was everything Tyler was supposed to be: humble, hardworking, and charismatic. In a twisted way, Jeremy became the embodiment of all Tyler's insecurities. On the evening of October 12, 2018, after another victory that had secured Tyler's place as the team's star quarterback, he found himself at a party with his teammates. The air was thick with alcohol and tension. Tyler had been drinking for hours, more than he ever had before. But this wasn't a casual drinking session. It was a carefully orchestrated attempt to dull the rage and resentment that had been building inside him for months. Jeremy was at the party too, as was the entire team. But it wasn't the usual celebratory atmosphere. The friction between Tyler and Jeremy had reached a boiling point. Tyler couldn't stand to look at Jeremy anymore. He was everywhere, on the field, in the locker room, and even the media. The entire world had shifted its attention to him, and Tyler, once the undisputed king of Crestwood University, found himself in the shadows, slowly losing his grip on the throne he'd worked so hard to claim. The night unfolded with an unsettling calm before the storm. Tyler and Jeremy were talking, or rather, Tyler was trying to keep his composure as Jeremy continued to chirp about his dreams of turning pro, about the scouts who had shown interest in him. Tyler gritted his teeth, but his anger remained hidden beneath the surface. The alcohol had begun to cloud his judgment, and the simmering jealousy boiled over. It was during a moment of tension, when the conversation turned to Tyler's diminishing role in the team, that things took a dark turn. Jeremy, perhaps unaware of how close to the edge Tyler was, made a comment that was both innocuous and devastating. "You know, Tyler, you used to be the one everyone looked up to, but now, I think the spotlight's on me." That was the spark that ignited the fuse. Tyler's mind raced, and his vision blurred. He could feel the weight of every year of hard work, every sacrifice he had made, slipping away in that instant. He had been the star. Now he was nothing. He was a has-been, and Jeremy was the up-and-coming sensation. But that wasn't all. There was a deeper, more sinister emotion swelling inside Tyler: betrayal. Tyler didn't say a word. He merely excused himself from the conversation, his mind working furiously. His gaze swept across the room, and there it was, his plan taking shape. He had spent the entire night drinking, and the alcohol, the feeling of invincibility it gave him, seemed to lift his inhibitions. This was not the impulsive rage of a teenager. It was a calculated, premeditated decision. Tyler knew that Jeremy would be leaving the party soon to head back to the dorms, and the moment he left, the opportunity would slip away. His mind raced as he imagined Jeremy walking out of the house, unknowing, with Tyler behind him in the shadows. As Jeremy left the house, Tyler followed. The cool air hit him as he stepped outside, and his thoughts cleared for a brief moment. But then he saw Jeremy ahead of him. The freshman was laughing, talking to one of his teammates, blissfully unaware of the danger that was about to descend on him. Tyler approached silently, his footsteps muffled by the grass. He didn't have much time. His hand tightened around the object he had concealed in his jacket, the heavy, cold steel of a crowbar. This was no accident. Tyler had thought it through. He would not let this golden boy usurp him. Tyler's future was at stake. He couldn't afford to let Jeremy steal everything from him. The first strike was quick, efficient. It landed with a sickening thud, the sound of metal connecting with bone. Jeremy crumpled to the ground, dazed and confused. He tried to speak, but the words were mumbled, incomprehensible. Tyler stood over him, looking down at the freshman who had dared to challenge him. With a final, brutal swing, Tyler ended it. There was no struggle, no resistance. Jeremy's life, his dreams, were stolen in a moment of unchecked rage. The next morning, Crestwood University was shaken. Jeremy Dawson was found lying in a pool of blood outside the party venue. His injuries were horrific, his skull fractured, his brain damaged beyond repair. It didn't take long for the police to trace the events of the previous night. Witnesses had seen Tyler and Jeremy interacting shortly before the attack, but they had assumed it was just another heated conversation between the two athletes. No one knew it had turned into a deadly confrontation. As the investigation progressed, the pieces began to fall into place. Tyler's alibi was flimsy. He had claimed to have been inside the party when Jeremy left, but surveillance footage showed him exiting the house minutes after Jeremy. Neighbors reported hearing a loud noise around the time Jeremy was attacked, something that sounded like a heavy object striking something hard. A crowbar was found discarded in a nearby alley, smeared with Jeremy's blood. The authorities quickly turned their attention to Tyler, and it didn't take long before they connected him to the crime. But Tyler, in his arrogance, thought he could get away with it. He believed his status as the golden boy of Crestwood University would shield him. The press, the fans, his teammates, they all adored him. No one wanted to believe that the star quarterback, the future of professional football, could be capable of something so monstrous. But Tyler underestimated the weight of his actions. When the police arrested him, Tyler was calm. He showed no emotion, no remorse. It was as if he believed that his golden boy status would be enough to make everything go away. He was wrong. The true motive behind Tyler's crime wasn't just jealousy or frustration. It was deeper than that. Tyler had built his entire identity around being the best. He had convinced himself that his success was the only thing that mattered, and that anyone who threatened it was expendable. Jeremy Dawson was a reminder of everything Tyler feared, that he was no longer the best, that someone else could take his place, that he was just another athlete waiting for his time to fade into obscurity. But the night of the crime revealed the truth. Tyler had never been the golden boy he portrayed. He was a young man consumed by his own insecurities, driven to violence by a fear of failure. The crime was a manifestation of everything he had buried deep inside: his rage, his jealousy, and his desperation to hold on to the fame he thought he deserved. Tyler Carson was convicted of first-degree murder. The case became a media sensation, with headlines reading "The Fall of the Golden Boy" and "A Star Destroyed by His Own Ego." Tyler's life, which had once seemed so full of promise, was shattered. His dreams of playing professional football were gone, and he was left to face the consequences of his actions. As he sat in the courtroom, hearing the victim impact statements from Jeremy's family, the weight of his crime began to sink in. His parents, who had always supported him, couldn't even look at him. Tyler had destroyed more than just his own future. He had torn apart the lives of everyone who had loved and supported him. In the end, Tyler Carson was a tragic figure, a young man who allowed the pressure to succeed to consume him. ultimately leading to a horrific crime. His story became a warning to others about the dangers of unchecked ambition, the suffocating weight of perfection, and the devastating consequences of letting fear and insecurity dictate your actions. The golden boy had fallen, and the world would never look at him the same way again.